Charlie Keegan, sir, you have been driving back and forth along I-70 these last few weeks, it seems. You've made it your own personal runway because there's been a
Yeah.
lot of redistricting news to cover. So you're literally talking with me right now from the Capitol. Can you just recap for us? We're, of course, talking about the ongoing efforts that have been happening to redraw the state's congressional lines, to redistrict whatever it is you want to call it. I know you've heard a lot of verbiage over there yourself, but recap
Okay.
what has happened this week specifically, what these last few days and even the next day or so is going to look like for you because you're there.
All right. So the people here in the Capitol Rotunda are getting used to seeing me, which I hope they don't mind. But what's happening here, the supporters of this redistricting, they want to basically change the layout of Missouri so that it's easier to elect 7 Republicans. And so that 7 of the 8 people who represent Missouri in Washington, D.C. are Republicans because they think that'll be better for the state. But to do that, you have to change Kansas City. That's kind of the big crux of this. The district proposal would make a big changes to Kansas City. And so that would mean that maybe Emmanuel Cleaver, who's been representing the Kansas City area in Washington, D.C. for the last 20 years, would be kicked out of his seat. It would be a lot harder for him to win an election. And so that's kind of what's at the crux of this. The House here in Jefferson City passed this map earlier in the week and have sent it on to the Senate. So now the Senate is considering it. They're holding some public testimony on Thursday about all this, and then we expect them to make a final decision on Friday.
Okay, so you already spoke a little bit to what's next with that final decision. What has it been like, I guess, leading up to that? And once that decision is made, I mean, what is the immediate action, I suppose, that we're going to see next that voters, people in the state of Missouri, what are they going to see happen?
Yeah, the everybody here in the Capitol sees this as kind of a foregone conclusion that tomorrow the Senate will pass this and get it over to Governor Kehoe's desk, and Governor Kehoe will sign it. Right? He was the one who called the special session to get everybody here to the Capitol to do this, so he's not going to veto it at this point. So once it gets passed, then it kind of turns to some more grassroots efforts. There are people who are talking about maybe starting to collect signatures to put a referendum on an upcoming election where the citizens of the state can actually vote to like stop this law from taking place. It's something that's called like a voter veto or a citizens referendum. So it's something where, gives kind of the people of Missouri the last say on a issue like this one.
And Charlie, you cover local politics and local government for us here at KSHB 41. So a lot of these people, have you, as you've said, have gotten used to seeing you over the last few days, but just in general in this realm. So who are some of the familiar faces that you have been seeing? Who have you seen even showing up to really just talk about this, be part of these conversations at the Capitol?
Well, the most familiar face of all came today, actually, Emmanuel Cleaver, the representative in Washington, D.C., who represents Kansas City in that 5th congressional district, came to the Capitol today to tell lawmakers why he thinks this is a bad idea. He was very clear to make this not that it hurts Emmanuel Cleaver. He thinks it hurts the 5th district. And even the person who might get elected years from him after he's gone, he thinks it's really important to keep Kansas City, or the majority of Kansas City, in one congressional district in DC, so they kind of have one person to reach for, to advocate for them on the federal level there in DC. So it doesn't get much bigger than Emmanuel Cleaver. We also had lobbyists from the city of Kansas City, Missouri, also speaking in opposition to this, voter rights groups, unions. There's been a long list of folks speaking out in opposition.
And obviously, with an issue as big as this, there's many perspectives. There's kind of two sides to the way that people are seeing this. What is some of the language you're hearing on how people are talking about this and what this would really mean for them?
Right. So a lot of Republicans are calling this a better map. They're saying they use the word better a lot. This is more true map, is another buzzword they've thrown out there. Opponents, though, are getting a little more creative, and they have really started like one up each other with the words, the adjectives they're using to describe this map. They've called it malarkey. They've called it ill-informed. They've called it chaos. They've called it flabbergasting. They say it creates a wagon wheel in Kansas City. So there are some creative ways to describe this map that's going through these halls.
lots of artwork and lots of articulation of words along with it. All right, Charlie Keegan, I guess we can catch you in pretty much every show here later this evening on KSHB 41. Is that correct?
You got it.
All right, Charlie Keegan, thank you so much from the Capitol.